Welcome to the Kentucky ABRE modules on Tier 1 PBIS. In this module, we'll talk about how schools can monitor student behavior for the purpose of making decisions. In terms of the four key components of PBIS, monitoring behavior is, of course, the way we know whether our teaching and interventions are being effective. In this module, we'll talk about collecting the important data, and in the next modules, we'll further discuss how to use that information. When thinking about monitoring behavior across the school, we should be focused on the specifics of what student behaviors are problematic, but also on when, where, and why these behaviors tend to occur. In this manner, we are following the same logic that we follow in the prediction steps. But as PBIS continues, this prediction is done with hard data to drive decision making. Every school needs a system for reporting student misbehaviors, both large and small. Having a system means we all use it in the same way, and it is school-wide. The purpose for this data collection is to consider whether current strategies are effective, and when not, what might be a logical change to make as a school. There are three big ideas to consider when building a monitoring system for the school. First, effective systems for monitoring student behaviors are agreed upon and used similarly across all adults. If we don't all agree on what we're measuring or how we measure it, then this process will be of little help. What is a fight? What is disrespect? When does non-compliance become defiance? These are all questions that need to be discussed and agreed upon by all adults so that all are on the same page when monitoring. Second, it is too easy to make these monitoring systems big and burdensome in an attempt to know everything there is to know about behavior. But the focus should be on collecting only the information that is necessary to make decisions. As a rule of thumb, everything done to monitor student behavior in the school must take less than 1% of the time for adults in the school. If it's bigger than that, it is likely that people won't use it because they don't believe they have the time. Finally, data is only useful if it is used, which means people need to see it, hear about it, and understand that the data drives the decision-making for future teaching and intervention strategies. Let's take a look at each of these three big ideas. Getting everyone to agree on anything is difficult. Here are some helpful hints for getting consensus on behavioral definitions. First, don't try to cover every possible misbehavior that students might have. It's okay to have other as a behavior, and we can write a note to describe it. Having dozens of behaviors only makes the task more difficult. Ideally, your data collection system monitors less than 10 specific behaviors, with all others managed as the other category. If something comes up repeatedly, it can be added to the list later. One way to do this is to combine similar behaviors. You likely don't need categories for non-compliance, not following directions, defiance, and insubordination. While you might be able to define the nuances, all of these describe students that are not doing what they've been asked to do, and one category will be fine to capture that. Be careful not to try discerning what students are thinking or what their intent was. This will cause problems. For example, if a student uses an inappropriate word, there's no need to consider whether it was purposeful or vindictive. It simply happened, and data should note that instance. Definitions have to be totally objective. Did the behavior occur or not occur? Finally, to make sure we are all on the same page with these definitions, there needs to be a written version to formalize so that the definitions do not drift to different interpretations over time. In terms of keeping it simple, here are some key features of simple data collection systems. First, as we've already discussed, limit the number of behaviors that need to be monitored. However, we will want to know more about the behavior in order to make good decisions, so time and location are important in addition to student name and problem behavior. One thing that will inhibit people from actually taking data is the requirement to write. because it is time-consuming and laborious. The more the form can take advantage of examples with checkboxes, the better in terms of making the process simple. There likely will be some writing necessary, but it can be kept to a minimum. In addition, the form itself should be kept simple. Smaller paper is better than larger paper. One-sided of the paper or one side of the paper as opposed to two is generally better. And making it something adults can easily carry with them is also a good idea. Many schools have been able to put the data systems on their school intranet so that the data is entered directly into a computer or handheld. Let's take a look at a simple paper version of a transportable data collection form. This form is the size of the palm of an adult hand, front and back, and it is part of a small tablet of such forms that fits in a back pocket. Note that the form uses check marks as much as possible and has a designation on top for report, something that is simply noted by the adult for future data and referral, something that is going to the office for administrator handling. The report version is important, as those smaller behaviors that do not go to the office are still misbehaviors and are predictive of larger problems. We need to collect this data as a means of predicting who might be having larger problems later. In this school, all adults were asked to turn in any report forms for that week to a box in the office by Friday afternoon. Thus, every week, there is a full accounting of all behavior problems observed by adults, big and small, and it can be used by the team to make decisions. We'll talk more about this in the next module. This final piece of effective data collection, making the data useful, is something that we will be further discussing in the next module. But suffice it to say for now that if adults do not see the data they've collected and do not understand how it is used, they are likely to stop following through with the monitoring procedures. Data should be posted publicly and discussed in summary fashion on a monthly basis. Now that you know about developing a monitoring plan, the next module will delve into how teams use the data to make decisions.